So now we are doing the questions that the student has asked. Okay. So before we discuss this, we have to understand the scope of these questions. What is the level at which this questions has been asked? So finally, this is the question that the student has now asked. Okay, he is asking this question, which is basically saying, what is bondage? First question. So he doesn't beat around the bush. No going around asking. Well, first, directly, the highest question: what is bondage? How did this come about? How is it sustained? Katameta duchatam katam pratistasya. How is it sustained? And then katam vimokshaha. How is liberation possible? Kosavanatma, ko asau anatma. That is how it is. What is this non-self? Kosavanatma, paramaka atma. What is the supreme atma, the self, or the supreme self? And how to distinguish between them? So please tell me these things. So this is a set of questions on which the whole text is based. I mean, meaning the next 300 odd verses is based on this one. Okay. So here the student is asking some very fundamental questions. Okay, these are questions about just the spiritual nature of things. And these questions, we say, are answered most succinctly and directly in the Vedanta only. All the philosophical schools of India do want to address these questions, but it's only in Vedanta that we are able to really address these questions in its full scope. Now I'll basically explain why only Vedanta is qualified to give us these answers. So the first question, if you really look at it, let us go briefly into these questions, and then I will go to the next part of it. Here he's talking about bondage. So first question, what is bondage? So now, what is our general idea when we talk about bondage is that we think about life, life's problems. Like, every one of us, like if you have career problems, then work-related problems. If you have a bad boss, work-related problems. Family, if somebody in your family is misbehaving or not treating you well, those are all problems, right? Which we have. Sometimes like when I in ashram or anywhere, wherever I've stayed as sannyasi, as a monk, people generally say, Swamiji, you won't know the problems we all have and all that, right? So, but in general, you see, I've served in an organization for many years. And there also, sannyasis have all problems, organization-related problems, people problems, or, if not anything, health problems and all. And I've stayed independently and also with sadhus here in the mountains and all that. And here, people have problems having a proper place to stay, the food doesn't suit them, or the place doesn't suit them, it's no proper independence. So everywhere, whatever is the life, whether you are living a grihastha, sannyasa, vanaprastha, brahmacharya, or whatever, everyone has some set of problems. So never do we feel we are completely free. And this is what bondage is. So bondage, if you put it very succinctly, it is any problem that you have is bondage to you. It doesn't necessarily have to be that bondage means like we're talking about Maya, karma, and all those things. Of course, we will talk about that later as well. But in a very practical way, if you want to really understand what is bondage is, that what you are bound by today, in your life, what makes you feel limited, what makes you feel bound, that is bondage for you. Okay, but there is a philosophical context to this. This is not just your problem. Now, although you think that, okay, now I have this specific problem, the underlying nature of this problem is a universal problem, meaning all of us have had this problem. And this is what he's saying, what is this bondage? Okay, so although he's directly in a way wants to, he has found his guru, and generally, when we find some Mahatma, we always want to ask some solution for our life problems, like I'm having this problem, Guruji, or I'm having this problem, Mahatma Ji, and we ask this problem. But that Mahatma is not looking specifically at your problem, He realizes that even though you are phrasing the question in this way, he is not like a psychologist or somebody who will say, okay, what trauma you went through or what personal things you're going through. He knows this. So this problem has been discussed ages before by sages. Sages for ages have been discussed this problem. Whether it is Kapila Muni or Babaji or Gautam Buddha, thousands of years before they knew our mind, the problem that our mind is going to have. And they said, gave that those solutions. So that is why now he is asking his guru or his teacher. That's fundamental question. He's not kind of specifically saying like, my family problems. He's saying, what is bondage? What is keeping me bound? What is keeping me in this what is keeping me in this samsara's challenges? Okay. So what is the nature of how did it come about? So this is the second more fundamental question. We want to know how did it come about. So like, for example, my life's problems, right? I want to try, where did this problem come about? Like if I have some issues with at work or somebody, I want to know where did it come about. So now the more fundamental thing is that how did I get stuck in this in the first place? Sometimes, people ask these questions, right? Like we say that life, we are bound to life, like somebody is having some problems, health problems or something that suddenly has come about his process. We say it's from past karma. So now then we ask very fundamental question, then how did this karma come about? So we say, okay, in the past life, you did something bad and all. Okay, then past life, I did something bad, but what about, how did that past life come about? So we say, okay, there was one more previous life before which you did some worse karma. So then where did it all start? Like if I say that it is some past karma, but it has to start somewhere, right? Like how did I first start doing bad karma? Why did I how did it end up? So these kind of questions he wants to know now. I don't know, he's just not interested with answering, okay, your life problem is, okay, you did this. Okay, that obviously he's not interested. He wants to know deeper. So then they say, okay, your karma created problem. But where did this karma start from? How did I get stuck in this karma? Who forced me to do my first bad karma or first karma? Right? So where did it start? Now, the second other point that he's trying to ask here is that how does it continue on? So this is another fundamental question. Now that I know this is what is happening, this karma keeps me going, or this bondage is there. So what keeps it going on? So this kind of notion that keeps us stuck in this the samsara is what he's trying to find answers for. Okay. So now, one of the first, he also already starts giving a clue to this, and that is in the first question he asks. What is this anatma? He's asking. So the first one of the points he's asking is, what is non-self? Now, he could have directly asked, what is self? But he begins with, what is non-self? Can somebody guess? Would anybody want to take a guess? Why would he try to point out what is non-self? And in fact, the answer that the teacher is soon going to give starts from the non-self, meaning what is not Atma? What is Anatma? So here his question also pertains to what is Anatma. Anyone? Why would he start with what is Anatma?
Self has got no definition per se.
Yeah.
So Anatma is one we can see through our senses. We can feel it.
Yes. Yeah.
So this is not that. This is not the body. This is not the mind. Which we can relate. But self we cannot relate.
Yes, yes, yes. Very good. So this is exactly, see, now we should slowly be able to relate. That is why I want to ask you questions, because you have done some Shravanam, So when we talk about it, you should be able to relate back and do some Mananam as well. Then it will make clear for you. So this is the point. See, what do I experience in my life? I experience this world, I experience this body, I experience this mind, my thoughts, my emotions, and all that, and I interact with others. So all this is anatma, meaning all that what I can see, touch, feel, hear through my senses, perceive through my senses, and through my intellect, and all my reason and all that. That is anatma, and that is glaring at me day in day out. This anatma stands in front of me, you know right from the moment I wake up in the morning. This anatma is strong. My body is aching, I have a headache or whatever, this see, when the body is working fine, we are not aware of it. The moment the body starts aching, it's hurting and all that, its presence is known. So we directly experience anatma whenever something is wrong with our body. And the second is the mind. Some thoughts, some emotions, we don't feel good and all that. It immediately kind of it starts leaving its mark on us. So this kind of nature of anatma is very conspicuous, very open. We experience it right away. Now, having first understood what is anatma, next then we can slowly move towards atma. As Jagdish was saying, it cannot be described as easily as we can describe anatma. Now, but once we know what is anatma, then the principle in Vedanta is this prakriya called as neti neti. Not this, not this. This is literally how it is translated. So, what are we saying when we say neti neti? Is that I'm saying I'm not this, meaning I'm not this body, first to start with. And then, second is what? I'm not this thoughts. I'm not this identities, these roles, all these identifications I have. I'm not this passport that I hold. That is also not who I am. I'm not this name. So all this, when we start doing, then what happens is we are left with what we truly are. So once we are able to negate all possible things that we are not, then we come to this thing that what we are. So this is a very a systematic way of doing it. Okay. So of course there is a direct way, which is called as aparoksha anubhuti, which is a direct self kind of knowing oneself through oneself itself. When our mind is completely purified, it no longer creates any obstacles for us. So that is also another deeper fundamental way. But here, what he's referring to mostly is starting with this. Okay, then what happens, he says, is Parama Atma, the Supreme Self. So what is the Supreme Self? This is that self which is not any other self. It is not any inferior self is all taken away. The ultimate self. So I can say, for example, this is why Vedanta is the highest darshan in terms of knowledge, because in all other darshans we still come at one level where we say we can come to the level of soul, or we can come to the level of me being a part of God, or me being a dasoham, or a servant of God, and all that, which is all good. It is all necessary prakriyas. These are all necessary understanding, because we have these states of mind, so we have to meditate on God, we have to meditate on the divine and all that. But here he's asking the question from the context that what is this highest self which you are, which I am. No, I am this highest self. What is my own highest self? So if I take away all this, which is non-self, right? Then the purest, the highest one, highest aspect of self, what is that? So that is this ultimate nature where there is no more any possible division possible. Okay. So wherever at any point there is this thing that, okay, this self is there and this is another entity. Or even this, when we say that I am a part of that self, there is still a division. When we talk about yoga or the means in yoga, there is still this aspect of Purusha and Prakriti, meaning that soul is multiple. There are millions of souls. So there is duality. Purusha is thousands of Purushas, and there is one Prakriti. So they all interact with nature, and then they get entangled. So even the liberation, they say, when the Purusha separates from Prakriti, then this Purusha is independent. So that one Purusha is independent from Prakriti. Then there are all other Purushas who are still associated. So anyway, this is a very different philosophy. But the philosophy, what we are talking about here is that consciousness is at one universal consciousness. Now it appears that this consciousness has appeared here in the forms of many of you who are all here. And in me, we're all different. It appears like it's different. But the essence of this consciousness, when I say I am, this I am is not really different from what when you say I am. So this is a fundamental non-dual truth. That sense of I amness, when it says that I am Swamiji or I am whatever here you say, Arvind, Giridhar, whatever. So when you qualify this I am with something, then it has become something else. But the essence of that I am is the same. So he wants to know about this now. He wants to know about this Parama, the supreme I am, which is not further qualified by anything else. So that is the next part of his question. Now, the most important question, the last question that he asks is this: is that what is the difference between this Anatma and Atma? This is the essence of this book. So this is why he has left the cream for the last, which meaning Viveka. This is Nitya Viveka or Atma Anatma Viveka. So that is the last part of this question. Then. So now what the teacher does is he doesn't directly start answering the questions. First thing what he does is he starts praising the students. Why is he praising the student here is because he says that it is like, how when somebody gets let's say somebody gets an admission to some prestigious university, maybe like IIT or Harvard or some prestigious university. So what do people do? Everybody says, congratulations, you have got admission into this university. You are now qualified. Like almost like you're like when somebody joins medical institute, like everybody says, oh great, you're a doctor, although that person has yet to do that course, it's almost like, okay, he's going to be a doctor. So like that, here what the teacher is actually saying is that you have asked questions which is at the very highest level. So danyosmi, meaning like you're blessed. Why you're blessed? Because you're fulfilled. You're fulfilled. Bhavitam. You have purified, fulfilled, and purified your kulam. So kulam is not just family. Sometimes if you look at English translation, sometimes they just say family. It is not just family. Kulam means that your whole generations that has led for you to take this birth. Now, how is it a kulam can be sanctified and kulam can be blessed by your these questions? Because he's saying here the questions you have asked is that you have asked the question to attain the Brahmi Bhavitum Vichasi. You are trying to become one with Brahman or know your own true nature. Avidya bandhana mukta. You want to be free from this avidya, this avidya's kind of hold on you. You are trying to be free from that. So this kind of questions that you're asking, so this is what See, every teacher, when a student wants to ask these kind of questions, he's very happy because he realizes that the student has thought about life. He has thought about the deeper sources of life, and he's asking these questions, not just out of some casual interest. He has done some inquiry into that. So, like that, now he's praising that student because his whole kula has contributed to him, and he's also purifying. Like they say, whenever there is a Mahatma, especially for sannyasis, they sometimes say, but any spiritual seeker, I think it applies. That they say that 7 generations before and 7 generations after, are all blessed when somebody takes on to this path. Why is it the 7 generations is blessed? Is because see that the effect of that, will carry forth for all of them, for the 7 generations which contributed to for you coming here. So whatever facilities through which you got this body, whatever facilities they gave you to enable you to reach this state where you're culturally, socially mature enough to ask these questions, so that they contributed also. So you have some degree of runa to them. No? You have some degree of what you owe to them because they have enabled you physically to come to this point and mentally to be able to ask this kind of questions. Okay, so not if even if you have somebody in your family who doesn't approve of what you're doing, they will still be blessed by what you do. Because at the same time, even though they don't fundamentally agree, they have helped you in some way in your journey of life. So they will be also blessed because you are taking on to this path. And this was also the justification how many people like Buddha and all left their families. They live because on the belief that they do greater good. They do more good than what they could have done by being physically present with them. So this is one way to think about it. So we should never feel guilty that way. If whenever we give time for the spiritual quest and all that, we are in a way helping them also through our own spiritual practices and spiritual contemplation. Okay, then Pavitam Kulam. So you have blessed your whole Kulam through this. Now the other reason that the teacher is actually praising here is that you are now doing what you are supposed to do eventually, meaning all your duties are now fulfilled. So sometimes what happens is we are on the spiritual path or something, and we have these doubts: am I doing the right thing? Like many times I get, especially youngsters, here especially, we come, and even in ashrams where I used to stay, when they are early on the path, they're not sure and all that. They have already left their jobs or they have compromised, some things and all. Then they're not sure. I mean, it's not necessarily they have to leave jobs, but even if they are left giving time for this, they're taking time from something else, right? So they're not sure. But what he's saying is you have fulfilled all your duties. Now that you're doing this, you are all your duties in life, which is the highest duty, which is that putting your effort towards this, you have fulfilled that duties. Otherwise, what would happen? You would still keep thinking, oh, I've neglected this duty, I've neglected that duty and all that. So here, it's very clear that he's praising him because you are now pavitam, you are purified at this one. Okay.